But like, do you have a creative process when you're thinking up scenes or when you're thinking up different things? Like, do you have a
Okay. Good question. I'm going to give you an example.
okay?
I go to this Kraftwerk concert the other night. It's my second time seeing Kraftwerk. Okay. They're phenomenal. They were like the original
German
digital.
Yes.
Last time I went, I sat next to Rick Rubens. I wasn't with him, but I was in LA. I was with a friend who's in the music industry. And I'm like sitting, this bearded guy sits down next to me. And I'm like, hey, it's Rick Rubens. I went to see Kraftwerk again the other night. It was so good. And I'm watching like what's going on behind them on the screen and this Metropolis style, I love old movies too. Thing comes up with the antenna with the circles. And I'm like, oh man, I want to do this black and white thing. Like I got to figure. So there's this like, if all I do is sit in my house and look at the computer and think about what everybody else wants instead of getting out and feeding my creative hunger, then I'm not going to have any inspiration.
Well, I was going to say, because other art...
I have to get away from the work.
And other art can inspire, whether it's music. I mean, I think you can be inspired by architecture. You can be inspired by so many different things.
I love Art Nouveau. Yeah, but you got to feel like it dies. The fire inside me dies if I'm separated from going and seeing art, feeling it, hearing it. Like, and it'll frequently happen with me, especially with music. Like with this one, I've been every night since then, like hearing the music in my head in my dreams and like seeing different things. And I wake up and I'm like, I wonder how I'm gonna.
Yeah.
And
it's fascinating how when you're creative minded, that's you can pick from stuff like that. I mean, have you ever seen like just a painting that got the creative juices flowing?
Like I love all of that Art Nouveau, Alphonse Mucha, the girls with the flowing hair and the flowers. And, that is the inspiration for all of the Lord of the Rings, Elven.
Yeah.
When I look at art, when I hear it, movies, poetry, like those different things spark this fire inside of me. Yeah. So one thing I do also love about this is that I'm actually able to like take time to go do those things.
Yeah.
And then maybe it'll take me some time to gather the equipment, but now I can at least afford to save up for the equipment because this stuff it costs money to, even if you're a painter, you need to be able to get the supplies.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that to be like, because some of the greatest, say, film directors started out as, theater directors or artists that did paintings and stuff like that. So they took the art, their art background in one thing and then applied it to...
It's a journey.
Yeah. So, and I feel like there's nothing that can say that adult content can't be artistic. I mean, there's been erotica, which is usually a more artistic, sensual, romantic type of content, which I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that kind, like erotica?
Well, okay. So in the erotica vein, like I love Irving Klaw, and I know that's towards the fetishy side. I love all of the old pinups. I used to have a business doing nothing, maybe sometimes nudity, but like hair and makeup. And then my late husband was a photographer and a master retoucher. So we had a business where we were doing pinup boudoir out of the house, and we got written up in a magazine in Orange County. I definitely, Anise, I don't know if I got that pronunciation correct. I like even looking at like some of the old vintage, like, the ladies with the hair down to the floor and their little stockings rolled down to the knee. Big bush. Like to me, it's interesting. And then I'm a big fan of, the Bunny Yeager stuff, the Betty Page stuff, all the real kitschy stuff, the burlesque stuff, the tying girls up and rolling around and spanking and hair pulling and stuff. I mean, I consider that erotica. Well, then there's some beautiful stuff out there too.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I'm wondering if there's still a space for that because I mean, sometimes people are just so consumed with wanting, like penetration and that kind of stuff that the sensual elements kind of get lost potentially, and maybe they're not as
I don't think the two cross over. I think when someone needs to scratch that itch and relieve that burden so that they can focus on other things, that's not necessarily the same as like the arousal and appreciation of an image of like beauty and eroticism that's not showing everything. And I actually, now that I think about it, think that penetration could be shown. In my mind, I'm thinking of like a still picture in an erotic way. What is closer to that I'm recalling is the old magazines where, like, I've got a friend who's completely out now, but she's a big influencer. But she was back in the day where she was in the magazines and it was, you weren't, that's still spread, but it was so glossy and so beautiful and it never looks like that when it's in motion.
Yeah.
So who knows?
I was going to say, what art forms? I think it sounded like music's your favorite, or do you have other?
Music's my favorite. Okay. Music's my favorite. Right. I mean, listen, if I have to just become a philanthropist and just have a studio where people come and I just want to be surrounded by music. I have such an ear for music that everyone who knows me really well, and not too many people do because my circle is always small.
Yeah.
If I'm in the car with them and a song comes on that pains me, they'll be like Chris Stream said it to me one time. He's like, I've never seen anyone visibly go into such physical pain when they don't like the sound. And I can't help it. And it does run in my family. We're a little weird, but everyone's musicians. And, music's my favorite. So I'm one of those people that's like, I can hear it, but maybe I'm not good enough to play it. Okay. But I do love to play with instruments, and I intend on filling my house with lots of instruments. And a harp too.
Nice.
But visual, I think, would probably be where I'm actually the best.
Okay. So like photography or...
I'm still learning more about it. I've been in front of it and behind it as the makeup artist, and now I want to learn how to do it myself because I have visions in my head.
And I'm wondering, do you say old film style, with a dark room where
you're actually developing? Noir. Yeah, and I used to have this book by about George Harrell, who did all of the silver screen. You would recognize the shots of Veronica Lake and with the hard lighting and everything. So
a lot of contrast.
Yeah,
and stuff,
I love
which is
black and white.
Gorgeous,
I love black and white.
Well, you look at somebody like Ansel Adams. We used to see his prints, everywhere. But those are some amazing photographs.
Yeah, they are.
And so,